Could I have a motion to approve the agenda? Okay, all right. We do need to add a closed session item for EDC, which is 143-311.11A4.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda with that addition?
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
I, Barnex Taylor.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried, the agenda is approved. Okay. Could you read the conflict of interest statement, County Attorney?
In accordance with the rules of procedures adopted by this board in section 153A-44 of the North Carolina General Statutes, it is the duty of every member present to vote on all matters coming before the board unless there is a conflict of interest as determined by the board or by law. Does any board member have a conflict of interest with respect to any agenda item coming before the board today? If so, please identify the conflict and the board will consider the matter.
No conflict, Barnex Taylor.
No conflict.
No conflict. Okay, we'll now move to our citizens' comments.
Those citizens who have signed up this evening, when your name is called, please approach the podium. Your comments will be limited to 5 minutes maximum. The chair will cut off all speakers exceeding their allotted time. If you have any questions of the board, you will receive a subsequent response from the board or county staff. The board will not respond or otherwise engage in a dialogue with you during your allotted time. Pursuant to North Carolina law, this time is allotted on the agenda for the purposes of allowing citizen comments on county business. This time is not an open forum to be publicly critical of the performance of any county commissioner or county employee, and the chair will maintain the order and decorum of the meeting. Mr. Earl Daniels.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, you are my commissioner, a man of integrity, and one I'd like to consider to be a friend. However, as a concerned citizen who believes our elected county officials have accountability, it is with sincere respect and genuine disappointment that I must take exception to a ruling you made on 3 March of this year. You will recall I made a simple request for a show of hands of the commissioners who had read the contract between the county and the county attorney. You ruled without consultation nor with consensus of the other commissioners that a show of hands was unnecessary. I believe your ruling could be viewed as a question of your sincerity to your oath of office with respect to, quote, faithfully and impartially performing the duties of your office as commissioner. Furthermore, I believe your ruling could be interpreted as disrespect to the other board members because it denied them their individual opportunity to exercise their due diligence and show evidence of the board's commitment to transparency. While you ruled that a show of hands was not necessary, it is my contention that it was necessary because of the board's prior commitment to transparency and its sincereness toward faithfully performing the duties of their office. Furthermore, I would have acknowledged the board's duty and willingness to be accountable to the public for the decisions they make. We, the citizens, your constituents who elected you, have an obligation to hold you accountable for your decisions, to ask without entering into dialogue whether or not one has read a document which results in considerable expense to the county taxpayer and with no accountability nor liability for the contractor is not inappropriate, controversial, or out of line. For the board members not to be allowed to respond with a simple show of hands is, in my opinion, an overreach of the authority of the chairman. If a member did not read the contract, albeit an indicator of not faithfully discharging one's duties, it is not a sin. It is an act of public honesty and placing full responsibility where it belongs upon the signer of the contract. I believe we have elected some intelligent representatives. Accordingly, I cannot believe that if all had read the contract, some would not have questioned the liberties it provides and the lack of accountability and liability it permits. Rest assured, as a native of this county, which I've served and returned to 5 times during my 82 years, I will continue to seek accountability and transparency in our local government. Quoting the words of a great general, Douglas MacArthur, as he departed the Philippines, I shall return. My subject for the next meeting will be fraud, waste, and abuse of county resources. Hopefully you will find it interesting enough to take notes. So I'll leave you with this question. Could our local government undergo the examination and scrutiny our federal government is currently undergoing from the Department of Government Efficiency? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
Chris Vincent.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
Hi, I'm standing tonight as a member of the Voltaire community to present a verbal overview of the appeal we're in the process of filing to the rezone parcels for the proposed Cherry Farm solar project. Law states that you have up to 30 days to file an appeal unless there is procedure error, which falls within the state's 5-year statute of limitation in this process. And during the appeal process, the board has the right to perform a quasi-judicial, which allows you the right to set up as a court, subpoena those involved, question them. If they are caught giving untruthful statements, they are lawfully supposed to be charged. I was advised that the board chair or the county attorney, along with the clerk to the board, are supposed to legally guide me in getting the appeal properly submitted to the Board of Commissioners. This appeal will be filed upon a manner of being considered arbitrary, favoritism, and discriminatory, which is age involving our sins. Favoritism. We've all sat in these meetings and listened to the praises that our previous board chair has given Ray, which is the landowner of these parcels. In the previous meeting, the board chair at the time stated that the planning board was broken, but still went on to proceed without leading the people to fully make the correct changes as needed to protect the people of our area. After the commissioners meeting of around October 2024, my mom approached the front. I was there as well, showed the board chair skyview photos of the ongoing solar projects that are saturating our community. He states to my mom, I'm sorry, this is not what they brought to us. By law, shouldn't this be void? Isn't it unlawful and unethical to blindside and mislead the people when you are head of the governing board? Second thing, a few weeks ago, Bennett came to the podium, thoroughly presented the proposal parcel for the Rich Square area. He gave the location, land size, several other features, but did not attach a name to a parcel versus the situation we encountered. William Flynn came to this podium. He was the zoning officer then. He presented the parcel and stated that this would be ideal to rezone this for Mary Allen Michael Ray. Attaching names to parcels can be used as signal words to the board and coerce votes. All right, notifications. Notifications has a problematic history since I've been sitting in these meetings. Conway Fire Tax, they packed the room that night. 3/4 of the people in the room stated that they did not receive notifications. Another example, a few weeks ago, the same thing, their rezoning notification with the Rich Square area. Yeah, 3 weeks ago, it was the same thing with the rezoning notification with the Rich Square area. We even had previous commissioner, Credible Citizen, that she even stated that she didn't receive a notification as well. When we came to the podium and preached the notifications, the same commissioner told us we should have received something. This is an explanation of the disadvantages we encounter in our area. Our representation, we would detail that in the appeal because it involves a commissioner. But it doesn't feel good to vote a person to represent you, take on issues of this matter, and find out that this person that represents you is on is on Ray's campaign contribution list. Voting of choice is everyone's constitutional right, but it causes legal issues when you've been elected to represent a certain group of people. And the last thing that I know I only have 5 minutes, so the last thing there's a house on that road. It's going to be three-sided in by panels, meaning that panels going to be in three sides of the house. I think I read this, I'm not 100% for sure, but I think the state law does not allow, and no family should have to encounter solar panels around the whole house. And about 3 weeks ago, I was in my house. There was so much smoke in there from the solar farms. It even woke my family up from smoke alarms. So I'm just wondering if we can get something in ordinance to kind of protect us. We have inhaled smoke for over 3 years. And that's a lot of smoke to be inhaled. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Ruby Vincent Ward Garner.
Mr. Chairman, commissioners, county officials, citizens, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Ruby Vincent Ward Garner, and I live in the Voltaire Lake Gaston community where the solar farms are saturated in our community. And I want to share 3 things with you this evening. First, about the solar farms. I am a supporter of my sister-in-law, Mrs. Vincent, who has been coming here for almost a year now more, opposing solar farms, and I'm one of her supporters, okay? They're in our community, they're ugly, they devalue our property, they're unhealthy, and they should not be put in our area, okay? My second complaint is, I was here, I think July of 2021, asking for high-speed internet in my community. I gave Commissioner Edwards a petition from our area for high-speed internet. As of this morning, we do not have high-speed internet. I have been told that money was allocated to the counties in North Carolina from the state and from the government, and we still don't have high-speed internet. You tried to do a Band-Aid job by using US Cellular, but that did not work. So I think in 2025, I think we should have high-speed internet in our community. My third complaint is, there's a lot of highway improvement in our area, highway improvement and utility improvement. And these people work in our community and disconnected our services without even letting us know. I think that it is very customer unfriendly. I think if they're gonna cut off my phone for like 3 or 4 hours, I think I can get a notice from somebody to say your phone is gonna be out. And also I was told by Brightspeed it's gonna be about 3 or 4 months before my phone is operating 100%. So those are some things I want to bring your attention, and thank you for listening. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Gary Brown.
Good evening, one and all. Before I begin, forgive me as I stumble through this. I forgot my glasses. So as I mentioned at your last meeting, over the years I've come to understand that commissioners have broad, challenging responsibilities and a largely thankless job. So number one, thank you for the job you do. Perhaps those most onerous responsibilities are established in the North Carolina General Statutes 153A 76 through 114, Organization and Administration of County Government. In short, a Board of Commissioners is broadly and ultimately responsible for pretty much everything having to do with county government. Yet day to day, commissioners have no direct hands-on role, individually or collectively, in managing, directing, affecting, or doing really anything, except in representing the people of Northampton County to the best of your ability. And that's why you get the telephone calls. Trash collection, flooded ditches, loud trucks, stray dogs, and as Commissioner Whitaker very rightly noted at a previous meeting, county employees. Commissioners rarely discuss employees because there are far too many landmines. From recruitment and interviews to evaluations and terminations, commissioners have no role, none, in personnel, with 3 exceptions. First of all, commissioners establish the personnel policy, and that's a big thing. Second, and aside from cooperative extension and the staff of the county's elected officials, unless you, by resolution of the board, vest the authority in your county manager, and I don't think you have the final approval authority and responsibility in the hiring of every county employee. And third, commissioners have complete day-to-day, every day, and every aspect authority and responsibility for the employment of the 3 employees who serve in their capacity exclusively at your pleasure: the county manager, the county attorney, and the clerk to the board. Please note the highlighted sections of these copies. I thank you for your consideration and for the work you do.
Thank you.
Commissioners, those are all the comments I've received.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is county manager with the budget presentation.
Good evening again, Commissioners. It's my honor to be able to come before you tonight to present the budget message for fiscal 25-26. In accordance with North Carolina Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act, the Administration Department has assembled the budget request, revenue estimates, and financial information supplied by various officials, officers, employees, and agencies of Northampton County. From these sources, a budget has been prepared for consideration by the Board of Commissioners. The recommended budget is balanced and complies with NCGS 15911. The challenge of this year's budget, as in the past, is managing the county's resources in an uncertain economic atmosphere, given the change in the federal government focus on spending, decline in population, competitive workforce market, and higher supply costs, and its impact on past funding awards, meaning decline in economies of scale, just to mention a few. Nonetheless, we must forge forward and plan for future growth and sustainability. And I believe that's what we've done when we presented this budget for you on tonight. We're going to take advantage of all the possible opportunities to increase our revenue coming into the county through the new growth in business And I like to quote how Mr. Tyner used to say, putting up roofs, because that's what we need to do, continue to put up roofs. And you'll see exactly what I mean as we get further into the presentation. I just want to share with you a few of the key budget factors and highlights for tonight. The budget is $43,618,029, of which $37,832,488 is the general fund, a $86,000 increase from prior year. Fund balance appropriated for fiscal 25-26 is budgeted at $1,259,840, a decrease of $531,723 from last year's budget. The current property tax rate is 83 cents per $100 of assessed value. That's ranked 10th highest in the North Carolina. 3 years ago, we were number 3. So we went from number 3 to 10. As in previous years, we were tasked with decreasing our property tax 0.5 cent each year in our strategic plan. And we did so again this year. The suggested new tax rate is 82.5 cents per $100 of assessed value. So we're going from 83 cents to 82.5 cents. The budget includes $1 million rescue squad revenue increase based on recommended Medicare, Medicaid transport fee increases. The budget includes a $400,000 decrease in debt service. And how we accomplish that is that we have the 2021 refunding loan that's coming off in 2025. So we have one more payment on that. The budget includes a $26 per employee medical insurance increase, which totals $103,000 annually, of which the county accepted that and will absorb that for the employees, employee only. Merit and COLA increases were projected in the budget at 2% on employee anniversary date and 2% on January 1st, 2026, respectively, for full-time and permanent part-time employees, except for law enforcement. Law enforcement, we have a 3% merit increase, 2% COLA. The law enforcement retention bonus is suggested at $1,250 in this year's budget, upcoming budget. Last year was $2,500, and I believe the year before that it was $5,000. So we went from $5,000 down to $2,500 down to now $1,250. That retention bonus is based on staff working a full 1 year. They have to work a year, and then after the year, we look at all the staff that's still on hand, and if they stayed with us for a year, they get that bonus of $1,250. And that's on top of their 3% merit and 2% COLA. And this year, the E911 merit and COLA increase is budgeted at 5.5% and 2% respectively. The 911 department head has been requesting a merit increase over and above what we've been given in previous years. And the tough thing when it comes to budget and when it comes to labor, you want to increase everyone all at once. When I first came to the county, there was a study that was being conducted, and I actually believe it was at the end of the study. I remember the young lady's name, of Ms. Veazey, and one of the things that was stated in that survey, that in order to get everyone on par with market, it would take millions of dollars of an adjustment in the payroll. And if anyone knows, you just can't do $1 million or a couple $1 million increase all in one swoop. So we have taken the method of increasing departments incrementally over the last couple of years. So we can't do everyone all at once, but as you can see with the sheriff department, we've been increasing them to match market. DSS, we've been increasing them to match market. Finance, and it goes on. And we've allowed the department heads to basically present to me what they believe is the market rate. And then what we did is go back and we had our HR department to go in and look at our neighboring counties to see what they're paying for those similar positions before we made the adjustment. So E911, they requested it and we had the research done. So 5.5% for merit, 2% for COLA. As mentioned before, the health department, they had a couple salary increases for nurses. As we all know, they had a slew of vacancies in their nursing positions. So we adjusted that this year, and that increase, there's the nursing, the clinical nursing supervisor and the director of nursing that we're adjusting in the fiscal 26 budget, and that's a total of $32,000 to get them up to par. In addition to that, we have the WIC director that we had an adjustment for $23,000, and that adjustment came to fruition because of a reduction in state funding. So we're actually waiting to see if the state will increase that number. So that's possibly going to go away before we adopt the budget. And as mentioned before, DSS, we adjusted DSS in this budget 6% for merit, 2% for COLA. This budget includes a $390,000 increase in education funding, $150,000 for Northampton County Schools, $100,000 for Halifax Community College, $140,000 for Roanoke Truant Community College. The budget continues to include a $400,000 contingency fund for county, school, and other emergencies. The budget includes appropriating $238,000 for our opioids operation from the opioid grant fund, which we're scheduled to receive $113,000 of additional monies in fiscal 26. Included in this year's ordinance for EMS is a remount of 2 ambulances and software upgrades for their narcotic diversion, $667,000. Majority of that is going for the remounts, of course. Another capital project is our buildings and grounds, asphalt repairs, and 7 HVAC replacements, $285,000. We're following suit with what we did last year as far as the capital is concerned. We're trying to keep that separate from our normal operations so that it doesn't sway the numbers when you're looking at what we're spending on an annual basis. So when you look at the ordinances, what does it take to actually run the county and not to include the capital? You can take the capital, separate it out, have a separate ordinance just for the capitals, and that will comply with general statutes, LGC requirements. You should have with you a packet. Now, I'll remind you, today is just the introduction of the budget. So we have several budget workshops that we will meet again. At the end of this presentation, I'll let you all know what the next meeting is, when the next meeting will be. But what I did want to do is share with you just a few highlights, starting with the cash flows. You should have a graph And I know for some people here in the audience, this might be too small for you to see. I apologize for that. So but for the ones that are close, I actually came out early and sat in the back to see if we could see all of this, unless you have really good eyes, and I don't. But these documents will be available to the public once we are complete, and we'll publicize that. We'll put it on the website. It will be in the clerk's office and available for anyone who wants to obtain them. But cash outflows, you look at the 26 budget proposed, and you see that big blue portion of the pie, and that shows you that public safety takes 38% of the cash outflow. And right below that, I compare that to the budget for the previous year to see how close are we to the budget for the previous year. Is anything changing, any significant changes? Really is not. The public safety was 37.43% on previous year's budget. And you go through the graph, you look at general government is 17.94%, followed by education, 13.68%. You heard some of the big numbers I threw out earlier about how we're funding education. And then, of course, you've got health at 10.89%, and then other human services at 9.7% before it finally trickles down. And you look at fiscal year 25, and you do the comparison, there really wasn't a whole lot of changes in how we were spending money in fiscal 25 versus our projections for 26. And that's one of the things I look at when we're preparing the budget. I sit down with every one of the department heads, and we go through each line item, and we first look at the first 6 months of the year. We project out where we think we're going to be at the end of the year to get an estimated actual. We compare that to what did we budget, see what those differences are. If there are any significant differences, we discuss those why and why not, or when is it going to fall? Because sometimes the first 6 months you might have a payment that's going to happen later on in the year that's not included in that number. So we make sure we include that for our annual number. And then we look at the budget that they're preparing, we compare that to the current budget, and if there are any significant variations, you want to know why. And that worksheet will come at the next budget meeting. So I didn't want to overwhelm you guys on tonight. So this is basically the summary executive level introduction. That was the cash outflows, and there's no surprise on cash inflows. Same as last year, same as we have been discussing all year long. Where does our money come from? Well, the pie shows is 65% ad valorem taxes. I've heard one of the commissioners said no one likes to pay taxes. I don't like to pay taxes either, but I pay my taxes. I do my part. Ad valorem taxes in Northampton County is the highest revenue stream that we have. And you look at the next one, 9.49% in sales tax at almost $3.6 million. And then you have sales and services at another $3.6 million. That's almost 10% as well. You compare that to what we did last year, the pie hasn't changed a whole lot. So what we're seeing is consistency in our spending, consistency in the revenue. There hasn't been a whole lot of changes. Also including your packet is, again, this is the more high-level packet. It doesn't get into the detail line items. But we start with the ordinance. This is actually going to make up your budget ordinance. And again, this spreadsheet shows exactly what I said. We do with the department heads. We look at our estimated actual in the first column. We compare that to our revised budget. We have a department request in the third column. And then finally, we have what we had agreed on, what was approved at the end of the day after we had our deliberations. And that's what's being presented to you on today. So those numbers that I talked about earlier, that's that final column. That's the budget number that we're presenting to you on today. So the budget is made up of different components. You start with general government. You have the governing body. You have administration, human resources, finance, tax department, land records, legal, court, elections, register of deeds, buildings and grounds, MIS, which is IT, central garage, bulk fuels, central stores, the insurance costs for our retirees. You look at those numbers in general government, you can see we're forecasting 6.228 for the end of the year. The budget, revised budget this year is 6,662,000. We have a projected requested budget was 6,776,915, and the approved right now or proposed is 6,776,915. The difference between this year's budget and last year's budget for general government is an additional $114,000. The majority of that is made up of the labor. Labor is one of the largest or the largest percentage of your expenses here. So I can move this over a little bit. And you can see the variances. If you have time, go back and look at the variances. I put notes in there. It was really like my notes. So if there was any questions, you would see the reasons behind the changes. So that's general government. Then you go into one of the biggest sector, public safety. In public safety, you have the sheriff office, sheriff, school resources, school resource officers, sheriff's execution accounts, the jail, Oldham Prison. We have emergency communications, which is the E911. You have emergency management, fire protection, building inspections, which is code enforcement. You have the volunteer fire departments. You have medical examiner. You have the ambulance, EMS. You got animal control, Tri-County Airport. You got the regional airport included in here. And so the total for the public safety, we're estimating that we're going to fall out about 13,333,000 versus a budget of 14,109,000. You might look at that and say, wow, that's a big difference. A lot of that is because of vacancies. Vacancies is carrying these, making these numbers more favorable than what you have. And what happens is the way we budget our labor here is we don't put in a vacancy prediction in our budget. We budget full staffing. Where I come from, if we knew that our vacancies were 20%, corporate said you have to budget at least 20% vacancies. So you didn't have any monies to work with. So you basically said to yourself, if that's what I normally run at, that's where I'm going, and that's your budget. But for local government, you budget the full staffing because that's what you all agree to as far as what we're authorizing our staff to be. And you hear that word authorized staff, you probably haven't heard that said here a lot, but that's something that we're working towards. With my HR department, I'm working on putting together an authorized staffing report. And with that authorized staffing, what it says is if we establish that the government says we have 350 employees that we're gonna employ, that's your authorized staffing. If there's any changes to that, then there should be a form that's filled out that says, hey, we're gonna increase that number or we're gonna decrease that number, and then it has to be presented back to the commissioners in order for that to happen. That's something that I'm just accustomed to seeing that we don't have here, but we will I'm gonna propose that for you all to look at that policy to incorporate that with your personnel handbook to have authorized staffing included. So anyway, getting back to public safety, as I said, that difference there, almost $1 million difference between what we're expecting the numbers to be and what our revised budget is. The budget for safety, public safety was 14.3 million. And we allowed 14.3 million to flow in, so not too much of a difference there. So increase of 231,000. And you can see, if you wanted to see, well, who's causing that big change, you can see 145,580 is emergency communications. And the note there says there was a 5.5% merit plus the COLA. So that's what's causing that. We're budgeting full staffing, and not only we're budgeting full staffing, we're budgeting that increase in salaries. And again, that's not to say that's what you're gonna spend, because if you can't hire them, you're not gonna spend it. Should be monies left over at the end of the year. The next section is environmental protection. In that section, you have soil conservation, forestry program, drainage, Lake Gaston weed, and Roanoke rivers. And in this section, the total forecast was 423,727 on a revised budget of 432, so we're not too far off. The budget for next year is 437,706. We approved that. So it's small differences here, so it's not a whole lot to talk about there. Almost break even. The next section is our contribution to outside agencies. In that section, you have Upper Coastal Plains, you have the Senior Tar Heel Legislator, you have Coswell, you have CADA, you have the Rest Home, and you have the Food Bank is included in those numbers. The total we're looking at there is 43,915. That's almost the same as, well, it is the same as what the budget is. The budget for next year is 70,866. Or that was the request. They requested 70,866. We approved 50,866 for about a $7,000 decrease. And again, if you're seeing things, you have questions, you feel free, write your notes down, and you can either ask the questions tonight or send me emails, and we'll have it ready for the next meeting that we will have. When we peel these numbers back, this is just the beginning. We're going to peel this back. We're going to look at the actual departments that presented their worksheets so that you can see how these numbers were derived. You see the line items, in other words. Our next section is economic fiscal development. In that section, you have planning, you have economic development, you have our capital outlay or non-departmental, we have our cooperative department, you have the Chamber of Commerce, and then you have our nonprofit. The total forecast there is 847,254. The budget is 1,776,822. Right away, you see a big difference, and I can show you the differences right here in the capital outlay. We have budgeted $850,000. That was, the majority of that was the assumption that we were going to do, part of it is phase 6, because you have to have the first year's, well, not just the first year, you have to have the construction cost, the interest on the construction has to be paid up front, and then we get the loan to cover that back or get repaid on the loan. And then also we were budgeting for the Lake Gaston area, if we receive funding for the Lake Gaston area. So right now, far as I know, we don't have fundings for Lake Gaston, so you'll see as we look at our budget going forward, you see $500,000 being pulled out of that line. And that's the majority of that, or accounts for the majority of that. As you can see, we're going from $1,776,000, budget of $1,246,000. We have $1,346,000 that was entered in here for a decrease of $431,000. The Health Services Department, I'm not going to name all of these programs. I know that Ms. Vick is in the house on tonight. I'm not going to throw her under the bus and call her up. But she, if you wanted to, she can actually go in and explain all of these programs for you. But we will have the worksheets also for this area. They've put together their worksheets as well. But basically, you know, with the health department, that's all the different programs that they work, programs and services. You've got federal and state money involved in that. And of course, there's a portion that the county pays as well. So you can see just overall numbers, the different programs. They budgeted 4.2 million. We're projecting that they're going to spend the 4.2 million. If they don't, that money either goes back or gets rolled over. The budget this year is $4,113,921, of which we, of course, we're going to budget the entire thing. So it's actually a decrease of $103,971. Other human services. And here you have mental health, which is Trillium. You got the Veterans Department. You have DSS, the county share that we pay for our DSS staff. DSS is almost the same type of arrangement like the health department. They've got state and they got federal funding, and then you have a portion that's paid by the county. So this is the portion the county pays in this line. And you've got our JCPC, Juvenile Crime Prevention, which I'm proud to say I'm on that committee. You have the Aging Department. Aging Department, we're still working on that. That's still a work in progress. We're trying to see if we can get some cost savings by doing a couple of things differently next year. So even though we have a budget presented, the budget is based on how we're currently framed on running this thing, but we're looking for some cost savings by doing some outsourcing. And we do have some requests for proposals out there to see if we can get that back before we adopt this budget. If we do, then we'll bring that information back to you all. So the total here is $3,485,000. The budget was $3.5 million. Revised budget for this year. Next year's budget, $3,693,000. Allowed all of that to flow through for a total of $191,738 increase. And that the majority of that is the DSS adjustment, the $142,000. Majority of that is salaries, and they've got some other things, and I didn't put my notes in here, but the majority of that is the salaries. I believe I had put down it was about a 6% increase for merits, and then of course the 2% COLA. That should get a DSS adjusted for the salary scale adjustments that they've been looking at for a couple of years since we changed the way that we're paying the minimum pay in Northampton County. You know, we put the minimum pay to $29,250, I believe it was. So that caused a ripple effect in all the departments and different positions that were on the, say, like the janitor's position. So what departments were tasked with doing was to go back, look at your positions and then bring to me, you know, those ones that you felt that were severely impacted by that increase in the minimum pay for Northampton County. So that should get DSS where they need to be. Again, like I told you, we couldn't do everyone on day one. Took several $1 million of an adjustment. Then we get into the education section. This line called current expense, that's the school. $3.9 million that we forecasted here. Revised budget $3.9 million. But you've got the school, you've got the school's capital outlay, you've got the community, Halifax Community College, and then you've got Roanoke Chowan College. Those are three big players in there. But you can see it's $4.7 million, $4.8 million if we're averaging up the budget, $4.8 million next year. They requested $6 million. The biggest chunk of the request came from the high school at $4,727,873 versus $3,855,000 from the previous year. So that was a big increase, and I know about $300,000 or $400,000 of that increase was from the requested supplement pay. We had requested the schools to add a supplement pay, a 5% supplement pay. Look at adding this 5% supplement pay. They were looking at the supplement pay for the certified teachers, and then they were looking at just a flat increase for all others. So when they adjusted that number, that's what that came out to be, 4.727. And then their fixed costs or their capital costs remained the same at 453,000. Suggested increase, again, as I spoke about earlier, $150,000 for the schools, Halifax, 100,000, and then Roanoke Chowan, 140,000. Roanoke Chowan, I put a little bit more because in the previous year, we didn't give them what they had requested. So I'm trying to get them a little closer to what they're requesting. It's still not the full amount, but you know, that's what I feel that we can afford to do. It's still $390,000. It's nothing to sneeze at. A 0.5% reduction in your property tax is approximately $130,000, something in that range, 125 to 130. Then we have the cultural and recreation. And I'm gonna try and speed this up. I know at the end of the night, you guys don't want to look at numbers. I was telling Commissioner Taylor that I'm accustomed to doing these type of presentations, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. Everyone's had some coffee and everyone's ready to go. End of the day, I know you had a long day. No one really likes to look at numbers, so I'm trying not to make this too painful. So cultural and recreation, we're forecasting 761,000. Budget is basically the same way. They requested 841. Pushed the whole thing through. Is about an $80,000 increase there. Let's see. Recreation is the biggest change there, by 80,000. We added one supervisor in recreation over in Creasy, and they're asking for a replacement of 25 out-of-date cameras. 25 out-of-date cameras. So half of that is the camera fee. And I'm still waiting on some numbers for that to justify that increase. And hopefully they get a number smaller. I can adjust this before we adopt the budget. Then here you have your debt service area. Again, you can see $1,060,000 is what we're forecasting versus our revised budget. That's what we're going to pay. Next year is dropped to $661,000 because of this 2021 refunding bond that's falling off. And then you have the contingency area. We budget this every year just in case we have some emergencies. We want to have some monies available. So if I need to act, I can just go ahead and act and get help to these different areas. But when we said go ahead and act, we can pay it out, but I would always inform the commissioners if we have an emergency and what we're doing. And then we put this last section. See, you got the total general fund, 35,581,769. We're projecting the budget is revised at 37,746. So this number can change because again, we're looking at a December or 6-month forecast. In some cases, I was able to go back and look at numbers up through March and adjust some of the forecasts based on that. So these numbers can change between now and the end of the fiscal year. But in any case, I'm glad to see that it's not higher than what we anticipate. So we're looking at almost $86,000 on your general fund. To me, it's about breaking even. It's more money spent, but it's not a whole lot when you're talking about $38 million percent-wise. The next section is the revenue section. Just gonna mention a couple of things here. You can see that the ad valorem, that's going up $706,000. But even with that, we did reduce it again from 83 cents to 82.5 cents. And there's that notice, $137,000. Every half a cent accounts for about $137,000. We still had about $1.6 million outstanding when I did these projections, and we're forecasting that we're going to collect about 96% of that. So now that Jamie and I are in the same building, she knows she's going to see my face every day. So the total for your ad valorem taxes, again, 23.7 is what we're forecasting versus the budget, revised budget 24.280. Next year, we're forecasting 24.5 million. Overall budget variance, 252,000 increase in revenue. And then you got these other taxes. You have your occupancy, your privilege taxes, excise taxes. It's $160,000 on average. Not a whole lot of changes there. Sales taxes, we didn't have a whole lot of changes, $3.5 million, going up slightly to 3.6. Intergovernmental unrestricted. You have your court costs, ABC profits, and then state hold harmless. Again, there we forecasting about 13.8 on a budget of 153. The big difference there is we waived a $38,000 profit check to the ABC store so they can reinvest that. As you know, that's a new store, new development. They came a couple of meetings ago and requested that amount of money be waived, and it was granted. So that's why there's a difference there between the 14 and the 153. When we look at grants, we usually budget the grants we know that department heads usually go for every year. So there's not a lot of big differences there. The forecast 70,000 in grants on 51 budgeted. Emergency management, they received a grant, a little bit more money than, they applied for more than what they budgeted for, so we received that in, and that's what's causing that skew right there. But overall, it's not a big difference in what we're planning for next year. Intergovernment restricted, forecast 683,000, the budget 528. Next year, we're planning for 615,000, a drop of 156,000. And you can see that drop came because of ARPA. ARPA is over. We've obligated all of our ARPA funds. The reporting is due by April 30th. And we're not planning on giving any of that money back to the government. I believe we've accounted for everything. We know that that we are in compliance. I worked with LGCI, NCACC. Did I say that right? North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. I worked with their staff last year to make sure that we were accounting for every penny, that we would not have to send any money back. So that 156 was the last portion that we paid out this year. We did that for the officers and retention bonus. And I shouldn't say that was the last portion. We also paid out for some automobiles, which we did on a separate capital budget, but it was paid for with ARPA money. And then we used, I believe, $1.7 million on the annex from ARPA. So we've accounted for all that money. There's just a long way to say that. Health revenues, again, it's coming from our health department. They know what the programs are they're running next year. They've given me their budgets, state, local, state and federal monies that they're planning on coming in. And then, of course, anything that we're absorbing, we absorb that portion ourselves. So it's not a whole lot of difference there. It's just a slight decrease of $57,000 in the revenues projections. And that can change between now and the budget adoption. It can change next year. If they get more monies in, we'll bring those monies to you, and then we can do a budget amendment for that. Permits and fees, I believe Derek is going to be talking about something to do with permits and fees tonight. But overall, 365,000 forecasted. Revised budget was 346,760, so a little bit better than what we budgeted there. And then for next year, we're budgeting 346,760 again. So not a lot of differences there. We used the March 25 revenues, and we bumped it up about 2% to come up with some of these estimates. We did the same thing here with the estimates for sales and services. You can see the big increase here in rescue squad fees, which is what I pointed out. That $1 million difference, we got that information. Mr. Casey Briggs, who's sitting in the audience today, he's the director of EMS, and that was driven by the Medicaid, Medicare cost increase for trips. So there's suggested price increase that every county is able to take advantage of. I see him shaking his head, so he's in agreement. Might see this one line item, a Medicaid reimbursement. See that going down 361,000. And that we did that based on what the monies that we received back for our Medicaid reimbursement this year. A couple of years ago, we got a big check, but then come to find out that it was a big check because it was 2 years worth of reimbursements. So we're not getting that big amount every year. So it's more realistic now. So overall for that, we see there's about a $600,000 increase led by your rescue squad fees. You got sales and services from health department. They, again, same thing with the health department. They give you all of these numbers for the year based on the programs they're running, the amount of monies they're going to receive from state and federal government. It's actually going down about 50 grand for the year. So it's not a big difference there. If you look at the revised budget, 1.1 million versus what they put in this year, it's almost break even. Then you have miscellaneous revenue. the biggest item in miscellaneous revenue of the 1.5 million, 1.3 million is investment earnings. That's the monies that we earn on our account that we have set up, our pooling account. We don't keep all of our money in the central depository. We actually have a pooling account where we can earn higher interest. Every county takes advantage of that, and it's just something that you ought to do. In years past, we received a lot of money from that because we had that $14 million that we received upfront for this building. So that sat in our central depository for a couple of years, and we were able to take advantage of that and not have to move anything out of our investment account. And then, of course, now you get down to this last line on the fund balance. Last year's budget on the fund balance, 1.79. We're going with 1,259,840 on this budget. It's a decrease of 531,000 in fund balance. What we're attempting to do there is, every year I've been here, I'm looking at that fund balance to see that number should be going down. And if it's going down, that's a good thing, because if it's going down and we have a balanced budget, that means that we're becoming self-sufficient, that our revenues are equal to our expenses, and we're not using fund balance to balance it out. So it's a good indicator to look at every year, how much fund balance are we actually in need of? And that's why I carve out capital outlay, because capital outlay will skew your numbers and you'll think you need more fund balance for your operations when it should be a one-time hit. You do your capital outlay, but the next year you should be operating at a certain amount. The rest of the budget is going to be the notes on tax revaluation. We always budget about 50 grand for tax revaluation. You're going to see information here about our Fund 61 and 62, which is our enterprise fund, Fund 66, which is our solid waste fund. And I have the details that will back these numbers up. These are just the appropriations for those funds, but you will get the worksheets that shows the line items, revenue and costs for those enterprise funds. Let's grab. This talks about how much we're going to pay in interest and principal for next year. We're appropriating those funds. If you didn't know, we actually allocate $200,000 back to DSS for the building that they're in. This is just an appropriation for the E911 grant. It's an estimate at this point. We'll know that number better in May. And then we get into the town ad valorem taxes. This is the allocation for the opioid fund appropriation. I see a typo in there, we'll adjust that. The EMS ambulance, this is the capital project that they want, 666.5. The software that they're looking for is for the narcotics. It takes them from doing manual worksheets, writing the numbers down and keeping track of their inventory. It automates that whole process so they can have a better accountability for their narcotics. This is the HVAC replacement. That's the appropriation for that. So total budget 12.9950. And then we talk about, you know, the different taxes in the towns and the fire districts. That's the next section. I did leave a grayed out area for the two areas that we're looking to get tax levy on for the new fire districts, Conway and Severn. So once we get that all together, that's all being worked on as we speak. Getting to the point of actually getting a public hearing. That's what we're trying to get a public hearing so that we can get the folks here and look at the map and look at what they're requesting and get you all to vote. And then the way that it works, general statute says that they can't get this tax if we don't have it approved before the adoption on June 30th. But we're well on the way, and I think it's going to be better than last year. I think the notification's been done, so it's just making sure that we hit the right target dates. This is just saying what we pay for our audit. I have to verify that amount, make sure that that's still correct. Tourism, that's their budget for tourism. We still have to include that in our ordinance because we have fiscal responsibility over tourism. It's their money, but they still have to come before you all if they're trying to, you know, make some big changes there. And then there's just some accounting rules, regulations that we have in here as far as fixed assets, what consists of a fixed asset, what requires a purchase order. The one change that I did incorporate here is that, and if you all approve this, I want you to be aware of it. Right now, we're only paying 55 cents in mileage reimbursement for our staff that's traveling on business. 55 cents was the 2011 IRS rate. We haven't changed that in who knows how long. My recommendation is to move it to the current rate of 70 cents. So we can leave it at 70 cents, or if y'all want to reduce that, or if you want to keep it the same way, I want to make you all aware that it's in the ordinance. Once you guys sign off, it's a done deal. And that's it for tonight on my presentation. Now, thank you all for bearing with me. The next workshop is going to be April the 21st at 5:30. So just before we start at 6 o'clock, first half an hour will be mine. And I'll be going over not all of the worksheets because it's too much to go over in one night. So I'm planning on the next two workshops to actually go over the worksheets with you all. I'm going to send the worksheets to you all in advance. And it's going to be a little bit of homework for you. Go through it, mark it up, make notes, questions, whatever you have. If you can send it to me in advance, I can have stuff ready so that we're not bogging down time, because it's not I don't stump Mr. Phillips' time. It's if you have a question, I can get you your answers.
So you're talking about that's for commissioners, April 21st.
It's open to the public also.
It's open to the public as well.
That's right.
So that's going to be, you're not going to have a work session for commissioners to come around the table and kind of discuss some of the things that are in the budget and kind of hash some things out. So we may curse and swear and do some stuff that we don't want these citizens to hear how bad we can talk. That's what I'm asking.
You can't do that.
Okay, I'm saying we can cuss and they don't hear. No, I'm asking, let me reel it back in. are we gonna have some work sessions to discuss the budget, to discuss what the department heads bring to us? We're not gonna have any of those sessions like that? I'm asking a question.
I'm not accustomed to, this is the normal process according to general statutes. I mean, unless you've seen something different,
If
Scott,
we're all there, it has to be open to the
it's
public,
public.
Okay, all right.
unless it's something that qualifies for closed session, which that does not,
This does not.
right?
Okay,
Because
okay.
like the strategic, planning session, that's open to the public until we go into closed session.
Okay, all right,
Certain things that you can discuss.
okay. So you've asked, let me ask another question. Thank you for that, for clarity. How will your office promote the budget? Is there any way that you all will promote the budget online or letting the citizens know in the county that it's budget time and that this is going on in our county?
Well, I've been promoting that since the get-go. Every opportunity I've had since we started this process, I've informed the citizens that, this is what we're doing. I gave the schedule for the budget. I've made them aware that it will, just like in past years, it's going to be on the website. It's going to be in the clerk's office. And I've also invited citizens, if they want to come in, make an appointment with me, they can come in and make an appointment and we can sit down and discuss any line item that they want to.
I got you. If you will, if you can, recheck that, because I put together a little something and put it out on Facebook, letting the citizens know to be here tonight because we're talking about the budget. And I'm just wondering what we're doing as far as promoting, letting our citizens know, y'all, it's budget time in Northampton County.
And Ms. Gatlin and Scott can correct me if I'm wrong, we also publicize the agenda in the slate.
So the budget meetings, I don't have the calendar in front of me, Commissioner Broadnax Taylor, but any budget meetings that are not within the regular board meetings beginning at 6, like for instance, the next one beginning at 5:30, those will be noticed to the public as a special called board meeting,
Okay,
which will go out.
okay, because
and it'll
maybe
be-
it's oversight on my part. Maybe I just didn't see those, but I just
haven't
want to
gone
make,
out yet.
I want to make sure that the citizens of this county understand it's budget time, and they have a right to know. They have a right to come and ask questions. My last question pertains to this. We had an upset with our audit. How does that upset have anything to do with our audit going forward? Does that make our audit, our budget going forward? How does that affect us going forward, Mr. Phillips?
We had findings on the audit. And those findings, again, they came about because you completed 3 audits in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, you will have findings, and we've identified those findings. We've come up with corrective actions for those findings. We submitted that to the LGC. They have accepted those corrective actions. And I don't want to talk for the finance officer, but I don't want to put pressure on her, but she's assured me that all of those corrective actions will be in place before we close out this fiscal year, which will put us in a great position. And that's what I'm actually looking forward to our next go around with the audits to show how we cleaned up all of the mess, because it was a mess. And that's what I want people to understand. It was a mess.
Because if
We
you
didn't
remember,
start with good books
I asked
from
for
3 years ago.
just a sheet of the findings, the findings of what mistakes there were. and how they were cleaned up. I think I asked for that last meeting, and I didn't receive that yet. And I don't mind, when we're doing this type of work, so much stuff comes by our desk.
Have that.
So if I can get that, but it's hard to remember everything, and I'll put that in writing again. But I ask for that, and I hadn't received that yet. I just want to know where we are moving forward. Okay?
And if you ever have anything like that, just shoot us an email.
Absolutely.
Me, I'm gonna get it to you.
And you have done a wonderful job. Thank you.
All right, if no other questions, take my seat and I'll see y'all on the next go-round.
Yeah, not necessarily any questions, just a lot of information. I appreciate you sharing. As you know, I do going to go through it and process. And then, again, if we have questions, I certainly will send those to you. And any citizens that have questions, please let us know so that we can also get those streamlined to our county manager as well. But thank you for the presentation and for the information.
I appreciate it.
Anyone else? If not, well, thank you, County Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips.
Next item on the agenda is the solar farm presentation.
Good evening, commissioners and citizens in attendance tonight. Thank you so much for allowing us to share some information with you about solar farms. I am Sylvia Vinson, and I am representing the citizens for Solar Farm Limitations. During the first meeting in January 2025, there was a gentleman here from the Center for Energy Education. He presented some advantages to having solar farms. Tonight, we will share some disadvantages to having solar farms in our county, which we believe far outweighs the advantages to having them. I will begin with, let me get this going. I will begin with the harmful effects of utility scale solar farming. With that, we have the loss of agricultural land. We have a danger to humans. We have loss of animal habitats. And if you look at that little raccoon has lost his habitat. Deforestation and wildlife impact. Large solar farms often require significant land clearing, resulting in deforestation and the destruction of natural habitats. Land clearing and installation process can cause soil erosion, leading to sediment runoff into nearby rivers. And to the left of the screen there, that is a picture of the Roanoke River. And the Roanoke River is in danger if we continue to place these solar farms there, because the middle picture indicates soil erosion. And the picture to the right indicates how we have lost land. The wildlife is affected when the solar farms are established. Our ground nesting animals, our tree nesting animals, including birds, small animals, large animals, and other species are particularly vulnerable to habitat loss when solar farms are installed. Solar farms are a danger to birds in flight. They are a migratory risk. At this time, there are approximately 3,000 acres or more in the Voltaire community alone. They will become solar fields. This are just a few pictures of those organisms that have been affected and will be affected with solar farms appearances in the county. The solar panels appear to be a lake or a pond. Birds dive trying to find food and water, resulting in a death plunge. If you look at this picture, this is the Shaw Farm on Highway 46 in the Voltaire area, and this is operated by Sun Energy. If you look at that picture, it looks like water, looks like a body of water, but those are actually solar fields. That's approximately 800 and some acres of solar panels there, and there are more to the right, more to the left than is on this picture here. They are flying up, they are flying, they think that there's water, and they dive into that death plunge. The installation of fences threatens our wildlife. The installation of fencing around solar farms to protect equipment often blocks the movement of large animals. Fencing can fragment habitats, preventing animals from accessing food and water resources. Because of fencing, it forces them to relocate to less suitable places. In every solar field that I've seen, they have fences around them. There's a health risk to our citizens. This is what we should really be concerned about. Groundwater contamination, because many of us have wells, from chemicals used to keep down the vegetation because they don't want tall trees growing. Whetstone, MSM60, panoramic 2SL. Solar farms also use esplanade, glufosinate, metsulfuron methyl, and diquat for weed control. Lead, cadmium, arsenic, all are used in solar panels. Can be released into the soil at any time if not properly maintained. Toxic byproducts such as hexas fluoride, sulfur, and silicon touch chloride can be released into the soil at any time if not properly maintained, all jeopardizing the health of citizens who live there. I pulled this picture up because I was talking about the chemicals that are going to be used in these solar fields. This is just a picture of a body of water that has been contaminated with chemicals. If we are going to lease our land for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years with the solar energy companies using chemicals, our water sources could become that way as well. This is partial construction behind Gaston Missionary Baptist Church. This is the Wilkins Lewis Ayers. If you look to the right, far right, you will see Gaston Missionary Baptist Church. There's a buffer around it. They have started putting solar panels there, but the cleared area is just waiting for panels. If you look to the left, that's another view. You still see the solar panels, but if you look farther back, you will see some bodies of water. That is leading to the Roanoke River and Lake Gaston. The Gaston Dam is in that area. These photos show the Gaston Dam and the area behind Gaston Missionary Baptist Church on Highway 46, still the Wilkins Lewis Ayers. This solar farm spans approximately 2 miles from Highway 46 to the Roanoke River and Lake Gaston. And you can see what it looks like. And on the left side of the left picture, you will see, to my right, you will see Lake Gaston. The dam is, Gaston Dam is between that, and then to my left would be the Roanoke River that would be leaving, that would be leading from the dam. These are some additional photos showing the harmful devastation to the environment during the construction of solar farms throughout Northampton County. The picture to my left is behind Gaston Missionary Baptist Church. And if you look farther up to the right, that's the Shaw Farms solar fields that I told you about the birds plunging in. But if you would just look at how they have gone in and destroyed the forest and the habitats and putting citizens at risk. During construction, there's an excess amount of smoke being produced, spanning approximately 4.6 miles when the companies are burning brush/debris. Plumes of smoke settle in neighborhoods, forcing citizens to stay inside until it settles. Also having to deal with the smell of smoke inside of homes, creating havoc for those who have respiratory issues. Here, smoke effects on the environment on Oak Grove Church Road and Highway 46. You can see to my left, they are burning trash, debris. The plume of smoke goes up, but the smoke is gonna settle. And this is what we deal with each and every time that they burn debris. This is more pictures of debris being burned. And as you can see again, when they burn, it's gonna settle over the neighborhoods and it will stay there for a while. And we are suffering from those effects. The picture on the right side, I took that from my back porch one evening that I came home. And I got into my vehicle and I drove a little closer, and the plume of smoke on the left. Now we had gone through about 3 days of heavy rainfall. And I know from experience living in the country that 2 or 3 days of heavy rainfall, those piles of brush are going to be very, very wet. So you know that they had to use something to start the fire with. And when they start fires with other things, then that's hazardous to your health as well. And that happens all the time. This is what we encounter at night when they have had a day of burning. You can look around the lights there. My nephew's house, my son is behind the tree on the left. Their house is filled with smoke. I live farther up the path. My house gets smelly, stays a day or two, and we have to deal with it. Decommissioning and post-land use. At the end of their operational life, solar farms require decommissioning, which involves dismantling infrastructure and managing waste. Improper decommissioning can lead to environmental contamination, particularly if PV panels are not disposed of correctly. Oversaturation and project abandonment all lead to cumulative environmental impacts. The solar industry, I tell you, is outpacing the research that is being done. End-of-life panels. As the solar PV market grows, so will the volume of end-of-life panels. By 2030, the United States is expected to have as much as 1 million total tons of solar waste. By 2050, the U.S. is expected to have the second largest number of end-of-life panels in the world, with as many as an estimated 10 million total tons of panels. This comes from the International Renewable Energy Agency and the U.S. EPA. Is Northampton's landfill ready for all of this? This is an abandoned solar field on Lebanon Church Road in Garrisburg. Who's responsible for this? We are afraid that this could happen in the county over and over again. This is Cherry Tree Road where I live. It has been permitted, many acres, but they haven't started yet. So when they do start, it's going to be piling brush up. Right and left, they're going to be burning. On the right side, there's a forest behind it, and they are going to be placed, panels are going to be placed there as well. Cherry Tree Road again, and if you look to the right, there's a residence on the right side of that path. They have put stakes there on the left side. Solar fields would be there as well. Okay, this is Old Grove Church Road. The construction begins here. Approximately 2 miles of farmland and forest land is being destroyed by Sun Energy installing solar fields. Almost the entire road on one side and partially on the other side of the road. And here are a few pictures. On the left, this was prime farmland that we have lost to solar fields. And if you look to the right, there's a plume of smoke, and that's what they do regularly. These are more pictures of the Oak Grove Church Road and how they have destroyed the farmland and how they continue to just bulldoze. More pictures, and to the left, there's a loss of a habitat, and there are more losses of habitats because there are some wet areas that were back in the forest that they have pushed down. Okay, there are no community benefits that we are aware of. The only ones who benefit are the landowners and the utility companies. If our county insists on being the dumping ground, at least make them share some of the wealth. The landscape will never be the same. Years of solar panels, years of chemicals used to keep down vegetation, years of human and animal exposure to ground and air contamination. Decommissioning in Northampton County will never happen for every panel placed upon the ground. It is a shame to leave such a devastating landscape and the issues it may cause to the future generations of Northampton County. Thank you so much, commissioners, again, for the opportunity to let us share some of the things that we have learned about solar fields.
Good evening.
Evening.
My name is Debbie Davis. I stand before you tonight to talk a little bit about the agricultural side of solar farms. I'm going to begin by being very honest. My family is part of the Gutenberg Solar Farm on Cornwallis Road. It was a decision that was made by my husband's parents and is not supported by my husband or myself. When you look up at this facility up on the EDF Renewable website, it states that it can power 12,000 homes. That being said, the energy goes to Dominion Energy, and then it is sold in a long-term contract to Facebook. There's not one home that's being lit up by that. In my opinion, the real story behind the solar farms is the need to power AI and social media. Now let's talk agriculture. The Northampton County 2040 Comprehensive Plan contains many references to the importance of agriculture and the need to protect farming in our county. A farmer's connection to the land is multifaceted. A farmer is often seen as a steward of the land because of their close connection to the earth and their responsibility to manage and protect the land for future generations. This includes practices like soil health, water conservation, and sustainable farming. We rely on the land for our livelihood. The land is a legacy passed down through generations. 40 years ago, I married a farmer. I knew nothing. I have seen firsthand the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into each crop. I have watched my son grow into a man and into a farmer. I'm sorry. It is a proud legacy that many in this county share. Grandfather, father, son, sharing this experience of farming the land from one generation to the next. Sorry. There are a significant number of farmers and farms that will lose the opportunity to lease farmland if our county continues to be inundated by solar farms. Farmers like my husband and my son. Farmers like Tommy Hargrave and his son, Jacob. Farmers like Ben Moses Sr. and his son, Ben Jr. The Lassiter family farm, James Fly, Johnny Sykes and his son, James, Sandra Fly, Donald Bryant, Barry Bryant, and Barry's son, Austin. David Britton and son Alex, Robert Jones and son Bobby, Tim Phelps, Danny Jernigan and his son Thomas, Earl Allen, Dallas Barnes and the children. Lack of sufficient limits on solar farm expansion will diminish the ability of the young farmers in this area to continue the family agricultural legacy. I recently attended a meeting in Halifax County and heard the mayor of Scotland Neck say, "If my farmers have a good year, then Scotland Neck has a good year." The economic connection between agriculture and our county is one that cannot be ignored. If you look at the town, and each town in this county, some of the largest and most viable businesses are considered agribusiness. Quality Equipment in Seaboard, Ag Carolina, although in a Husky, serves Bertie, Hertford, and Northampton counties. Maharan Fertilizer in Jackson and Severn, Farmers Peanut Market in Seaboard, Gaston Cooperative in Garysburg, Hampton Farms in Seaboard and Garysburg, Severn Peanut in Severn, Anderson M. Davis Trucking in Seaboard, Renault Cotton Gin in Seaboard, and Birdsong Peanut in Seaboard. This trickles down to other businesses in our area, restaurants, coffee shops, bakeries, gas station, grocery stores, dollar store type businesses, pharmacies. All of that is affected by farming. The farmers of Northampton County have a good year, then Northampton County has a good year. Expansion of solar facilities on productive farmland threatens the livelihood of farmers and their family, but also threatens the economic integrity of Northampton County. Our family has been approached by a few solar companies to lease or sell land to them for solar farms. They push hard and they offer a lot. These leases are for 30, 40, or more years. Years the land will not be available for farming. One company approached my husband and son and arrogantly told them, "No moratorium will stop me." Another company, after being told no by my husband, sent a neighboring landowner to talk again with Joey. They were offering huge amounts of money. Call him crazy or not, but his answer was, "You will not rape my land." Please consider all that is being said tonight. Take your time. This is very important to the people of this county, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening to all.
Good evening.
We're coming before you this evening not to complain, but as citizens to give input. Ms. Vincent and Ms. Davis have discussed the actual effect of unlimited solar farm expansion on our residents and on our agriculture here in Northampton County. My part is to discuss our research and ideas for protecting our county and citizens. The county, Northampton County, cannot rely upon the Center for Energy Education as an impartial resource for guidance about solar farms. You know, they came before you, they talked to our citizens and elected officials, but they haven't told you about the pros and cons of solar farms. They promote solar farms. Why? Because the Center for Energy Education was created by a solar farm development company, GenX. GenX. Now, when GenX first created the Center for Energy Education, they didn't call it that. They called it the Solar Center of Excellence. The Solar Center of Excellence. But that sounds too much about solar development, doesn't it? So then they changed it to the Center for Energy Education. But they have a heavy concentration on the Center for Energy Education Board. The CEO of GenX is the chairman of the Center for Energy Education Board. The COO is a board member for the Center for Energy Education. Their lawyer is on the Center for Education Board. And attorney, he's a partner with Kilpatrick, Townsend, and Stockton, LLP, a multinational law firm. GenX has 15 solar projects in operation, including 2 more in our county, Hemlock Solar and Cottonwood Solar. Now, we had initially said there were 11 solar farms of which we knew about in Northampton County, but there are 2 more. We've done some more research. There are now 13 solar projects in our county. GenX on its website will tell you that they're developing 13 more solar projects throughout the country. This is the company that created the Center for Energy Education. So can you expect them to come and give you the cons for solar farms? Like, you would not have seen the cons had you not seen the PowerPoint that Ms. Vincent showed you right here in our county, not somewhere else. You saw the barren land. You saw the smoke rising. You wouldn't have heard about the effect on the farmers had Ms. Davis not come to talk to you. See, down to tell you that. Because in essence, the Center for Energy Education is a solar farm company. And you know, when you look at the outline which we provided you, you're going to see sites. You can Google it and look it up for yourself. Now, they say after the solar project ends, decommissioning, which is equipment removal and restoration or repurposing of the land, occurs in North Carolina. But you saw on the PowerPoint, that project on Lebanon Road hasn't been decommissioned. It's sitting there. Grass growing up, weeds, and a fence around it. They didn't decommission that. It's an eyesore. So the Center for Energy Education gives the impression that upon decommissioning, the structures are removed, materials are recycled, and the soil is restored to its prior condition or is agreed upon in the landowner contract. Recycling of solar farm panels and materials is not cost effective. It's not cost effective as an incentive. The average cost of solar panel recycling can vary between $10 and $40 per panel. If you look at the Gutenberg Solar Farm and the Pecan Solar Farm, both in Northampton County, they have a total of 1,000,000 216,530 solar panels. Recycling using above average recycling costs will range between $12 million to more than $48 million just for those 2 solar farms. Do you think they're gonna put that money into it? Disposing of solar panels in landfills is not sustainable. Halifax County Attorney M. Glenn Rollins recently stated during a public hearing that Halifax County Commissioners were prohibiting solar panels from being disposed of in their county landfill. Northampton County should not allow millions and millions of used solar panels to be dumped. That's right, dumped in our county landfill. There are 3 potentially costly areas in returning solar facilities back to productive agricultural activities. And it's gonna take a while. It's gonna take a long time because remember we talked 20, 30, 40-year leases. And you heard about those farmers, those sons of the parents who have elected to stay in our county and to become farmers. Are they gonna be to wait until this land, all that land you saw in that PowerPoint is restored back to agriculture use? No, and it's gonna be extremely expensive. The cost of removal of equipment, reducing or remediating soil compaction, cost of restoring the soil properties could cost up to $215,000 per 1,000 acres. Northampton County currently has at least 13 farms involving many thousands of acres. You do the math. It's gonna cost a lot of money after a lot of time to restore that land back to use if they do stay and decommission the land. And someone talked about how important this decision is. You know, the decisions you're gonna make about that special use permit is gonna go beyond election cycles. 30 years may go beyond some of our lifetimes. The decision that you make are gonna affect Northampton County for many years to come. Maybe I would say forever. There's now state policy on solar farm decommissioning. And you know what's interesting about that? In this political climate, Democrats fighting Republicans, Republicans fighting Democrats, right? But they came together and they passed a law, a state law on decommissioning solar farms because they know the danger of not placing limits and requirements on those solar farms. And so they're requiring decommissioning, but you know, there's something else that's equally as startling. They said, well, local governments, you can make more stringent rules than what we have set forth in statute. Even they recognize the harm. Conclusion, there's no meaningful financial benefit to Northampton County residents from unlimited expansion of solar farms. Oh yeah, solar farm companies, and maybe the landowner that leases the land, but there's no significant employment of county residents, just a general promise of employment. And the folk that live up there in that west end who've seen these solar farms come about, they see skilled laborers from other areas are bussed in for the construction of the solar farms in Northampton County. Even the grass cutting is outsourced. We can't even get the grass cut. Nearby neighbors are exposed to loud and repetitive noise, hard to breathe smoke, and penetrating dust during the land clearing process. The solar farm developers are extremely well financed with experienced and knowledgeable attorneys. They're not worried about the current county moratorium affecting their plans to expand solar farms. Our county officials, frankly, don't have the sufficient technical expertise needed to update the solar farm special use permit ordinance in order to protect our county and the future of farming. It's a very complicated endeavor. And I'm not saying we're not intelligent, we don't have the smarts, but that's not something we do. They have very experienced attorneys. And remember when I mentioned attorney? That lawyer that's on that board is a partner with a multinational law firm. That's what we're up against. And they know that. They know, they look at us being land rich and cash poor. That they come to us with some money, we're gonna jump. We can't rely upon the Center for Energy Education to advise us, our elected leaders, residents, on the limits that should be placed on solar farm expansion. The county commission should retain its own environmental law firm to provide impartial expert guidance to ensure that sufficiently crafted rules and limits on solar farm expansion are adopted. Our recommendations to the county commission: extend the solar farm moratorium in order to obtain guidance from an impartial expert environmental law firm as to how to update the county solar farm special use permitting process. Hire a third-party experienced environmental law firm to draft or review the draft of solar farm expansion special use permit provisions. We recommend, Mr. County Manager, the North Carolina environmental law firm, law office of F. Byron Rice Jr., and that's in the presentation that you have on your computer. We recommend that the county draft decommissioning provisions that ensure that accurate costs of decommissioning are required in leases, with a means of factoring in the cost increases in future years of the leases. Because we're talking about 20, 30, 40-year leases. Prices, the cost for decommission are gonna go up. And so there has to be a means. That's why we're saying using an expert environmental attorney who knows how to do that, how to factor it in, so that as time increases, then the lease is going to require that the developers, not the landowners, decommission these solar farms. We recommend that the county commission ensure that solar farm developers provide a bond or other means of ensuring that the developers pay the cost of decommissioning solar farm sites. So they just can't go away like that solar farm on Lebanon Church Road. We recommend ensuring that solar farm expansion in Northampton County is limited to a set percentage of available agriculture and timberland so that agriculture is protected. And lastly, we recommend that the county commission ensure that solar farm developers are prohibited from the burning of debris from land clearing, and instead are required to chip or grind or haul away that debris. Because they just don't care. They're taking the cheapest means, and they're not concerned about the breeding and the safety of our neighbors. I'd like to say one final thing. As a citizen of Northampton County for 40 years, I want to thank Ms. Sylvia Vincent, who's been coming to these meetings for well over a year, talking about the dangers of this solar farm expansion. And Ms. Davis and her husband and all of the farmers that support this great county. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Roanoke Chowan Community College budget request. This is not the budget for next year, which is be taken care of with the budget proposal. This is their request. Could we provide any additional funds in this current year? And we had said at the last meeting that we would bring this back up tonight, so we do need to address this one way or the other. And that's what we're here for. Everybody has their own say and their opinions, and if anybody feels we should give them some additional funds in this current year, if you'd make any motions or suggestions, we're here to discuss that.
Mr. Chairman, how much did they need? What did we talk about for this current year?
They were asking for $85,000. That would equate to the percentage of enrollment. We don't feel we have that much available. The county manager told me we could make up to $50,000 available from the contingency if we so chose. So anywhere from 0 to 50,000 we can do if we feel so led.
If we gave them $50,000, could we deduct that from what we give them for the upcoming year?
No, I don't, we can't do that.
I'm just thinking, Chairman.
They're to be treated as two separate matters.
Okay,
Next
gotcha.
year or this year, yeah. And if we were to choose to give them nothing, if that's the wishes of the board, then that's the wishes of the board. We just said we would decide something tonight, so I feel it's only fair to them to let them know one way or the other if they're gonna get anything additional for this year.
I guess I asked last time, we support Halifax, we support Roanoke Chowan, and now we have to support Northampton County. We're endeavoring into a new school. So, I don't like to give to one without giving to all of them, but I think we're pushing for our county to have a great school here, and I think we need to keep it in the county this year. Because if one community college needs the money, the other one should need it too. And I think Ed said that Halifax was doing okay.
Yes. They're not requesting anything additional this year. And we do have representation on both boards to have some say in how they spend their money, but that's what I say, we're here to discuss this, and if anybody, if we want to give them some or not, that's what we're discussing it. So do we have any other discussions in regard to this?
Commissioner Edwards made a good point. If we give to one, we need to give to the other. That's a good point.
Do we have a motion then for what is the wishes of the board? And those wishes could be 0, or they could be some figure in between 0 and 50,000, but we are, increasing their amount for next year, if assuming we approve the budget as proposed for both schools.
All right, Commissioners, what we gonna do?
Like I say, we can make a motion to do no additional funding if that's what is the wishes of the board, but we've got to have a motion.
I move that we consider some increase for next year, but let's see where we're at for the end of this fiscal year.
Second.
Okay? Any further discussion? All in favor of no increase this year, but look at an increase in next year, which we are already proposing. All in favor of that, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye, Broadnax Taylor.
Aye. Okay, so there'll be no additional this year, but we will look at increasing it for next year. Okay? The next item is the establishing a Moses Horton Day. Is Commissioner Edwards online? I know he was wanting to present this. I know sometimes if you're trying to get on and they don't recognize to give you access, you can see it, but I've had that happen to me one time when I was attending virtually. He is on, okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Can you give him access to?
Mr. Chairman,
He might be muted.
Mr. Chairman.
Can you turn up the volume?
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I can hear him faintly. Is there a way to?
Yeah, I've been trying to speak, Mr. Chairman, even on the other issues. Can you all hear me now?
A little bit.
You're very, very faint.
I do apologize. Mr. Chairman, this George Moses Horton Day, I appreciate the commissioners looking at this.
Yeah, I can just barely hear you.
Important to our community, and I would like to see if we could make this April the 19th.
And then see if we can't put you through the microphone on your phone. So hang on just a second.
Mr. Edwards, can you?
Okay. Yes.
All right.
Thank you. Okay.
Proceed.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I do apologize. Yes, sir. I've been trying to speak and not been able to. Okay. And I know, yes, and so the George Moses Horton Day, and I appreciate the commissioners taking a look at this. I think we had the background, and would like to see us move forward with this component of George Moses Horton Day.
Okay. So would you like to make a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I move approval of George Moses Horton Day on April the 19th.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Broad Knox Taylor.
Okay, motion is carried. It will establish George Moses Horton Day for April 19th. Thank you. Okay, the next item is the Sistel copier agreement. Who is presenting that? Okay, there you go.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. I'm totally, I'm good with that. Right, absolutely.
Somebody went out the side door.
You do.
Okay.
Check 1 2 1 2.
Okay, we heard that.
My apologies. Seemed like all the batteries died at the same time.
Okay.
Good evening, Board Chair Martin, board members, county attorney, county manager. My name is Corey Tyler, Technology Director for Northampton County. We would like to ask for the board for approval to enter into an additional lease for a copier for the new annex building. We are asking for a new lease in order to compensate for the copier that was left behind in the old admin building to continue to complete the business of the county. The lease term will be for 43 months at $108.12 per month, which falls in line with our current contract. The total over the life of the contract will be $4,649.16.
Okay. Do we need to, I know normally we don't vote on things. Do we need to do that tonight since it's for the new building, or can it wait till the next? Okay. All right, okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Anybody got any questions real quick before he, okay, all right, thank you for your presentation on that. Next item is the solid waste curbside dumpster and container pickup contract award. This will be an action item.
Good evening again. I have before you the curbside pickup and waste container services. We put this RFP out back in December. We had three businesses that were interested in bidding on this contract. One of the vendors fell out, so the final two is what you have before you. GFL and Unity.
County manager, they can't hear you in the back.
Can you turn this mic up just a little bit? Can y'all hear me now? Can y'all hear me in the back? Okay. So this is the curbside pickup and waste container services. You have two companies that put in bids of the three that were interested. The two that put their bids in was GFL and Unity of Carolinas Incorporated. And if you look at the two comparisons, GFL gives the county puts the county in a better position price-wise to look at the current cost that we're charging to our residents and to bring that cost down and actually do a little bit better than break even on an annual basis. If y'all recall, last year we had to bail out the solid waste department about 200 grand. GFL came in at 182.76 for the curbside pickup, Unity of Carolina. And then you look at the other costs
What
that
was theirs?
were quoted.
We couldn't hear when you said the other company. What was theirs?
The Unity of Carolina is $233.40 and annual cost versus GFL at $182.76.
Okay.
And then you look down the line, that column, you compare the container hauling price. GFL beats Unity of Carolinas in just about every one of the categories. It's for that reason I am requesting that we award the RFP to GFL, and that you all allow me and the attorney to now take the next stage, which is to review the contract and negotiate the contract terms with GFL. Thank you.
Okay. So this would not require any increase in our waste fees to the citizens?
If we go based on the recommendation with GFL, I'm looking at a reduction.
Okay. Always like a reduction. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the county manager and attorney to proceed with this contract for GFL?
Okay, okay, Mr. Edwards.
Mr. Chairman, I did have a question, and so we're talking about awarding this contract. How long is this contract for with CFL? I didn't hear Mr. Phillips say. Mr. Phillips?
We're not at the stage of awarding the contract. Once we negotiate the terms of the contract, I will bring that back before the commissioners for your approval. This is just to go to the next stage. We're awarding the RFP to GFL and now allowing us to go ahead and negotiate that contract.
I'll make a motion that we award it to GFL.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 I, Broadnax Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Rich Square Fire Department Commercial Lease Agreement.
Good evening. Casey Griggs, EMS Director. As of now, from the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., we have an ambulance and a crew at the Rich Square Fire Department. I don't believe there's any type of an agreement or lease, so they have brought forth a lease agreement for 12 months at $20,000 during that 12 months for a total of $1,666.60 a month. The agreement does not have a month to start, but I would recommend waiting for the next fiscal budget for 26, so it can actually be budgeted. This includes an ambulance bay, a lounge, bathrooms, dining areas, things of that nature.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? This will be put on the actions for next month, but if you got any questions now while he's presenting it, I mean, for next meeting, but if you got any questions, ask him now. This gives us one bay
They're giving us one bay, yes,
and then access to kitchen and so forth.
that's correct.
All right. Any other questions?
No questions, other than I just think it's a good step in the right
Not-
direction. So, thank you.
Not, we'll vote on it next meeting. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Casey. All right. Social services.
Good evening, Chairman Martin,
Good evening.
And to the other commissioners, Commissioner Taylor, Ronax Taylor, Commissioner Edwards, and Commissioner Dr. Keidra Whitaker, and County Manager. I stand before you. I had 2 items on the agenda. I think we just put one.
Okay,
One is named on the agenda, but the other presentation is in your agenda packet. So
okay,
the first one is to increase Luther Culpepper's, who is our DSS attorney's per hourly rate from $80 per hour to $100 per hour. And we do have the money in the budget. He is probably the lowest paid attorney in the area. So he had asked, he requested, and I'm bringing it before you all to approve that increase.
okay.
And I know, I know this is probably the wrong meeting for that, but the information is in your packet, and
Right,
we already have a contract with him, and we wanted it effective the 1st of this month.
okay. All right, so we can vote on that next time and still do that, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And the second item is the The second item is the memorandum of understanding between the Department of Social Services and the state of North Carolina. And I would like to pass this out.
Heck is going on?
Thank you. So you don't have that in your package. That's the only sheet that you don't have. But
Okay.
you have everything else.
Thank you.
Session law 2017-41 requires all counties to enter into an annual written agreement referred to as the Memorandum of Understanding with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services for all social services programs excluding medical assistance. Attached, you will find the following documents that include the Memorandum of Understanding as well as the attachments that outline the performance measures. So in your packet that you had already received was the Memorandum of Understanding cover letter, the Memorandum of Understanding and Addendum A with the data sharing agreement, the General Statute 108A-74. Attachment 1, performance measures for all measures in the MOU. Attachment 2, performance measures for child welfare measures not in the MOU. DSS performance measure summary, adult services performance measures, child support performance measures, child welfare performance measures, energy performance measures, food nutrition performance measures, and workforce performance measures. Every year, the social services and the county manager is supposed to sign this MOU with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. Last year, many of us directors did not sign because we did not agree with the word. The MOU is for 2 years. And so this year, we all agreed because we had a lot of discussion, we had a lot of interaction with the state. And so everybody agreed, most counties agreed to sign it. So I need you all to give us the authorization to sign this MOU, and this, let me tell you a little bit about this stuff. So the performance measures, the county will ensure 95% of all foster youth have a face-to-face visit by the social worker each month. The state mandated goal is 95%, currently Northampton County is at 100. The child support, the county attorney establishment performance level must exceed 50% at the end of the state fiscal year. So far, we're at 88.84%. The county support or establishment levels must exceed 50% at the end of state fiscal year, June 30th. State mandate is 50, we're at 94.42%. The The county current collections performance level must exceed 40% at the end of the state fiscal year, June 30th. The state mandated is 40%, we're at 74.55%. The county arrangement collection performance level must exceed 40% at the end of the state fiscal year. State mandated is 40%, we're at 57.31%. And I think that's great because we were down to one supervisor and one child support agent, and we're rebuilding that department, so I think that's great. The county will process 95% of crisis intervention program applications with no heat or cooling source, or applications with a health-related crisis for the disconnect, final, or past due notice within 1 business day from the date of application. The state mandated is 95%, we're at 100. The county will process 95% of crisis intervention program applications without a health-related crisis that have heat or cooling source for the past due or final notice within 2 business days. The state mandated is 95%, we're at 100. Work first. The county will process 95% of work first applications within 45 days of receipt. State mandated is 95, we're at 100. The county will process 95% of work first recertifications within 60 calendar days. State mandated is 95%, we're at 100. Food and nutrition, the county will process 95% of expedited food nutrition applications within the time frame that allows the household to have access to food nutrition benefits before the 7th calendar day. State mandated is 95, we're at 100. The county will process 95% of regular food nutrition applications within the time frame that allows the household to have access to the food nutrition benefits on or before the 30th calendar date of the application. State mandate is 95, we're at 100. The county will ensure that 95% of food nutrition recertifications are processed on time each month. State mandate is 95%, we're at 100. Adult Protective Services, the county will complete 85% of APS evaluations involving allegations of abuse and neglect within 30 days of this report. State mandate is 85%, we're at 100. The county will complete 85% of APS evaluations involving allegations of exploitation within 45 days. State mandate is 85, we're at 100. Special assistance, the county will process 85% of special assistance for the age applications within 45 calendar days of application date. State mandate is at 85, we're at 100. The county will process 85% of special assistance for the disabled applications within 60 calendar days of the application date. State mandate is 85, we're at 100. Child care subsidy, the county processes 95% of child care subsidy applications within 30 calendar days of the application date. State mandate is 95, we're at 100. Recognizing that we still have a few more months to go, we are meeting our target goals, so I don't see where that's gonna be a problem, but we still have to sign the MOU. And then, for the next 2 years, I'll come back again before you.
Okay. Does anyone have any?
Get permission for the county manager to sign the MOU.
All right. Do we have any questions?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor, I noticed, and I think you've been through this, I just want to clarify. I'm seeing throughout the agreement that it's having an effective date of June 1 of 2024. So that, and I understand that at the time this was initially rolled out, the counties weren't agreeing to it, but now they are.
Correct.
And so you're fine with having an effective date of last June?
No, it's gonna be effective whatever date we sign it.
Well, I think within that date needs to be updated then, and I can get with you separately on that.
Okay, all right.
Because the reason why I ask, I wanted to make sure that if it was effective a year ago, that you weren't, that if there were any issues of non-compliance, that we could potentially get tagged with. Excuse me, okay, we can update that date then.
Any other questions? If not, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Okay, next is the Turning Point Workforce Development Board appointment.
Good evening to the county commissioner. Good evening also Chairman Martin, and County Manager Phillips. I'm Michael Williams, Turning Point Workforce Development Board Director. And also I have one of the rock stars for Turning Point, Ms. Duna Long Dickens, which is a Northampton County resident. We are proud to have her. I just wanted to come tonight. We do have 2 board members that are currently on our board whose term will be expiring June 30th. And I wanted to make sure I was here to help hopefully clarify if there are any questions. Ms. Moody and Ms. Joyce Buffalo, their term will expire June 30th, 2025. However, with our board, we do have a mandate. We must have 19 members, and we serve 5 counties, so Edgecombe, Nash, Northampton, Halifax, and Wilson. So we have to pull from those 5 counties, those 19 members, and you guys from the Board of Commissioners actually appoint them for us. But not only do we have to stay within that 19 members, we have certain categories that we must obtain and have on that board. As you can see, I did submit an email to Dr. Gatlin, which shares those numbers that we must have. 51% of those 19 must be private sector. So business, employers, small business owners, personnel from a large business. Also, we must have 20% from our workforce. So that can be someone with apprenticeship, labor, or union or labor. And then we have the adult educational literacy and higher education, 2, and economic development, 1, and 1 Wagner Pauser, and 1 BR vocational rehab. So again, we have to work with those 5 county board of commissioners to make sure we have those components on our board. So I was coming before you just to present those 2 that are expiring. They are eligible and have been great stewards of board members for Northampton County and have been great advocates for for Northampton County. Actually, I will say Ms. Moody is one that if it's $1 that's going to be spent, she's going to ask how much is going to Northampton County. So I just want to make sure that they are eligible for reappointment if you so choose. So that is a county commissioner decision. And Mr. Clinton Williams, who was also on the board, his term will expire June 30th, 2026. He's currently our vice chair at the moment. So I just wanted to kind of come and explain, and if there's any questions that I might be able to maybe hopefully help you with, I'm definitely here to do that.
Okay, anyone have any questions?
I know we've been here a long time, so let me understand this. And I didn't know if you knew this, but Mr. Clinton Williams's brother was killed on Saturday night.
We received the call Sunday morning. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
You knew that. So let me ask the question. It's our choice so Ms. Moody and Mr. Clinton Williams can continue to serve if we choose to.
Actually, Ms. Moody and Ms. Buffalo can continue to serve because they can be reappointed. At the moment, Clinton Williams is already, he has 1 more year.
Got it. Okay.
2026 of his term.
Do you have can we serve, how about commissioners? Do you have government representation?
Yes, ma'am. Again, as long as you fit in the category.
Got it.
Yes, ma'am. So if you're a private sector, or if you, actually, Mrs. Buffalo serves as a community-based member. So if you're part of a community base, you could also be a member if we have that particular position vacant.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Okay, anyone else have any questions?
How many years do they serve?
Actually, we do not have a term limit, and I will say those who have been part of the workforce development system have stated if they don't have the opportunity to serve multiple years, it's just so much to gather, to understand. I will say we are now with the new government, federal government, we're looking at reauthorization. So that could bring some major changes as well as we move into next year.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, if not,
So
we'll,
if it is opened up, we will publicize it like we typically do for other appointments. Is that how it goes? I mean, I'm just trying to understand. I mean, are
So
you
y'all-
asking for?
yeah, do y'all publicize when you have vacancies?
Yes, we do publicize it.
Okay.
Also, we kind of look to the county. If you have anyone who's did an application that's saying they want to work on the Workforce Development Board, and they have, again, those characteristics to fill those vacancies.
Right.
So yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? If not, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We'll address this in the next meeting. Code enforcement, proposed building inspection fee schedule.
Good evening. I'll be really quick. At least annually, we try to review the code enforcement building inspection fee schedule. It is in your package. This fee schedule, if I'm correct, has not been updated in the past 24 months, so I'm bringing this to your attention and for consideration for approval. If you look at the proposed fee schedule, there has been an increase in the majority of the categories. I'll say a slight increase. From our department's review, the department as a whole has been operating in the red consistently. In 2024, we were about negative $229,000. The expenses were $377,000 and our revenue was $148,000. The operating ratio for that department is about 39%, which is extremely low. In our review of the neighboring jurisdictions, which includes Halifax, Hertford, Bertie, Nash, Edgecombe, as many as we could in this review, we found that Northampton County was extremely low compared to the others. As such, we're proposing the attached building inspection fee schedule. The residential construction plan review will now align with the value of work. The non-residential construction plan review will also align with the value of work, and both of those categories have a slight increase due to the additional time that it takes us to review plans. I'm not sure if you guys know, but the state has rolled out a 2020, well, it will be effective, but the 2023 residential building codes, which will be effective in 2026. This requires additional review from our department, which includes our chief building inspector as well as our other regular inspectors. The residential construction and non-residential construction building permit fees are fairly similar to last year's, but there is an increase. I would say that's probably about a 10–15% increase in those fees, but it is based on the square footage of the home. The largest increase by volume will be your trade permit fees. Currently, our trade permit fees are $52 per trade permit, which includes building, electrical, plumbing, mechanical, and energy conservation. We're proposing to increase those fees to $75. $24 increase, but given the volume, which is the most typical permit that is obtained, that would be the largest impact. Miscellaneous fees remain relatively the same, which includes demolition permits, communications, swimming pools, signs, and any other violation or penalties such as reinspection fees and stop work order fees. Overall, this fee increase will not completely mitigate the loss that the department is experiencing, but it will help close the gap. We do plan to, as economic development continues, increase those revenues, which will also help close that gap. But in order for that department to continue functioning properly, given the increase in salaries, the increase in costs, Northampton County is in a position where we must increase our building inspection fees. I know that was a lot and pretty quick. It's been a long night, so any questions?
Could you get for us, before we vote on this at the next meeting, like a comparison of what the fee was versus now? Just so we could know what amount it increased.
Any other questions?
Anyone have any questions?
All right, that's all I have.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Health Department matters.
Good evening. I come before you tonight with 3 different agenda items. But before I start, I also want to let everybody know that today starts National Public Health Week, and it runs all week. And we're taking public health on the road, our agency is. And yes, today we were in Seaboard. Tomorrow we'll be in Gaston. Wednesday we'll be in Garysburg. Thursday, Woodland, and Friday we'll be in Rich Square, doing things like I'm giving incentives, we're doing free health screenings, we're giving away car seats, bicycle helmets, all different kind of things. If anyone is interested, our schedule has been put in the newspapers, and it has also been advertised on our Facebook page. So I did want to put that little plug in. So the first one that I want to bring up tonight is regarding our Northampton County tobacco ordinance. Currently, we have, our tobacco ordinance was signed, and it was approved and signed by the Board of Commissioners and adopted on November the 5th, 2012. Our current ordinance does not include information on e-cigarettes and vaping, and this is something that our Board of Health wanted us to take a look at, and they have approved updating our ordinance to include information on e-cigarettes. And I also have with us, I'm gonna let her do her presentation and introduce herself, but this is Teresa Beardsley, and she has some information on e-cigarettes and use.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much for having me. My name is Teresa Beardsley, and I am the Tobacco Prevention and Control Manager for the region, and I'm through our regional health services, so I partner with the Northampton Public Health. So I'm just here to give you some information about e-cigarettes, often also called vapes, as you all are going to look into adding vapes to your ordinance. So you can proceed to the slide. There we go. Advance, please. All right, so just a couple things tonight. We're going to talk about statistics, specifically with youth use, harmful effects of them, common products, some specific common products that you might see, and then just a quick plug on Tobacco 21 and evidence-based programs. All right, so according to the 2023 North Carolina Youth Risk Behavior Survey, 37% of North Carolina high school kids have tried a vape product or e-cigarette. Among 12th graders, it's 50%. More than 1 in 5 North Carolina high school kids report current use of a vape. And for 12th graders, it's 1 in 3. And 1 in 10 North Carolina middle schoolers reports current use of vape products. This is 2023 data because they do this survey every other year within their schools. All right, so just a little bit about nicotine, because nicotine is in all of our vape products. It's a highly addictive chemical that's in our vape products, and it contains high doses of nicotine and flavors that are attractive to youth. Nicotine used while with an adolescent, while their brain is developing, can disrupt brain circuit formation. Poisonings can also occur as well, and nicotine is toxic to developing fetuses as well. Next, please. There are other harmful substances in vape products as well as nicotine. So besides the nicotine, within the aerosol, there are many other volatile organic compounds. You'll find things like heavy metals, lead, bromine, ultrafine particles, cancer-causing chemicals as well, that's linked to lung disease. And most school staff within the survey do identify e-cigarette use among students as problematic. Of course, our U.S. Surgeon General has also identified usage among youth as problematic. E-cigarette aerosol, again, is not harmless. Most e-cigarettes do contain nicotine. They can harm brain development and can impact learning, memory, and attention, and can increase risk for future drug use. All right, so back to that survey with our youth. 25% of high school students that vape say that it's hard to get through the school day without vaping, and 33% of middle schoolers. So that's telling us that our youth that are currently vaping and they can't get through the school day are already addicted to the product. Now, 64% of those that vape in high school want to quit and have tried to quit, and 68% of middle schoolers want to quit and have tried. So nicotine dependence and withdrawal symptoms include irritability, restlessness, feeling anxious or depressed, trouble sleeping, problems concentrating, and just that craving for that nicotine. Next. Now, unfortunately, there's a very high level of nicotine in these products that are on the market as compared to combustible cigarettes. So the average volume capacity has increased from 1.1 milliliter to 5.7 milliliters, and average nicotine strength increased from 1.7% to 5% between 2017 and September of 2022. So that's a huge increase in the amount of nicotine. So there was a 2020 flavor ban, which was great. However, it did not reach all of the products, unfortunately. So the 2020 flavor ban address the pre-fill pods. You might have heard of the Juul products, those pods that are pre-filled. So it addressed those flavors except for menthol and tobacco flavors. So the FDA also finalized an enforcement policy to punish any retailers caught selling unauthorized flavors of cartridge-based e-cigarettes. So what happens after that, when those are banned, we have all kinds of other products on the market now that don't fall into that category. So what about all the other products? The disposable vapes, synthetic nicotine, so nicotine that's made in a factory, the refillable systems. So they're still on the market today. Disposable, just to give you an idea, they are extremely popular, especially among our young people. They are single use, so they're not refillable, and many are rechargeable. Many of them offer between 1,500 puffs and 8,000 puffs per device. So just thinking about that. Most common types among those young people were listed there as well, and you'll see many of them in any of your local stores. All right. So there are many evidence, there's 4 specific evidence-based practices to reduce tobacco use among our youth and those that already smoke. So one of those is the 100% tobacco-free policies. Northampton County, I do know, does have 100% tobacco-free policies for their government buildings, grounds, vehicles, all that good stuff. However, the language does not include the vape product. Hard-hitting media campaigns, so having those media campaigns, having the health department out in the community, access to quitting, and then reducing access to youth as well. Next. So just to give you a little plug of something that you'll also be hearing about, not from me necessarily, but within our governmental system, North Carolina is one of 8 states that has not adopted the federal Tobacco 21 law. So the federal bill was signed in December of 2019 for retailers to sell of the age of 21. And North Carolina has not caught up yet. We are still 8 team. And of course, as one of the previous slide mentioned, that data does show that Tobacco 21 and those tobacco-free policies do reduce access to our young people as well. Next. All right. And the Community Preventative Services Task Force does recommend policies to reduce exposure to secondhand smoke, reduce the prevalence of tobacco use, increase the number of tobacco users who quit and are able to stay quit, reduce the initiation of tobacco use among our young people, and reduce those tobacco-related mortality, morbidity, and disparities as well, and reduce healthcare costs substantially. All right. So that's just a very quick lowdown of e-cigarettes and youth use.
Any questions? Thank you.
So, and to be clear, I just wanted to say too, so our current policy is for all vehicles, any county grounds, anything like that. And also, in addition, beginning July 1st, 2025, all providers who contract with NC Medicaid managed care standard plans, behavioral health and intellectual developmental disabilities, tailored plans, and local management entity managed care organizations must have a tobacco-free policy in place, which includes prohibition on smoking combustible tobacco products and use of non-combustible tobacco products such as electronic, heated, and smokeless tobacco products, and nicotine products not approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Are there any questions?
No. I don't think so.
Thank you. The second agenda item that I had was to come to you tonight to ask if we could make our Northampton County local team to operate as a single county team. And what that means as the North Carolina Child Fatality Prevention System is a statewide multidisciplinary system that was developed in the 1990s, consisting of the North Carolina Child Fatality Prevention Team, North Carolina Child Fatality Task Force, and local teams, Child Fatality Prevention Team, which is CFPT, and the Community Child Protection Team, which is the CCPT. North Carolina Session Law 2023-134 enacted changes to strengthen the state's child fatality prevention system, which included the establishment of a state Office of Child Fatality Prevention within the Division of Public Health. The Department of Health and Human Services made changes to the child fatality prevention system and made it mandatory to report child fatalities in the National Fatality Review Case Reporting System. So currently, we have 2 teams locally. The Child Fatality Prevention Team is run by the Health Department. We oversee that. And then the CCPT, which is that Community Child Protection Team, is currently under the Department of Social Services. This new legislation is making both local teams combine into one single team. So what I need to come before you tonight is to ask the commissioners to make a decision on whether we want our county team to be a single county or a multi-county, which I took it to our team, and we have recommended, we want to bring the recommendation to keep it as a single county team, so that if we're awarded any funds or anything like that, then we will just be discussing Northampton County deaths and keep the funding inside Northampton County and not have to share it with other counties. Are there any questions on that?
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, all right.
The last item that I bring tonight is just for information purposes. We had our 2024 Community Health Assessment, and our consolidated agreement between the state of North Carolina and our local health department requires local health departments to submit a comprehensive community health assessment every 4 or 3 years, depending on if you are submitting regionally, and which we are, so it's every 3 years. This is our second year that we've partnered with Health Eastern North Carolina, Health ENC, and we worked with different community members. We worked with ECU Health North North. They are actually the one that funded us to do this regionally, and they paid for us to work with Health ENC this year. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing. You'll see for everybody here, this is a really big document. For anybody that is interested in looking at this, this is on our website. And we have shared it, I believe, on Facebook. So if you are interested, it has a lot of statistics in it, talks a lot about health initiatives and what we do as an agency. Our Health Education Department, along with our Healthy Carolinians Task Force, take this information and then we choose health initiatives that we are going to combat for the next 3 years. So those 3 initiatives that were chosen this year are access to healthy foods, access to services, chronic disease, and mental health. So we'll be making, that Healthy Carolinians Task Force will be making action plans to combat these 4 initiatives over the next 3 years.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? Okay, if not, thank you.
Thank you.
Tax Department matters.
Good evening. Bring you greetings from the Northampton County Tax Department. I have 3 items to bring before you all this evening, and I'll do it real fast. Before I do that, if you don't mind, I would like to give a huge thank you to the staff of the Tax Department, because while we did a major move, we never stopped serving our taxpayers and providing them with superior customer service. And that wasn't an easy task, so I want to tell my staff thank you. And I'd also like to tell the taxpayers of Northampton County, thank you for being patient with us as we moved. The first item I bring before you is to obtain the board's approval for 7 appeals in the amount of $1,615.36.
All right.
The next item I bring before you, the next 2 items are resolutions authorizing upset bid procedure for sale of property owned by Northampton County. These are bids that taxpayers have put in for county-owned property. One in the amount of $2,500, one in the amount of $4,100.
Okay, does anyone have any questions regarding these upset bids? Okay. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Financial matters. You don't have anything tonight? Okay, good enough. All right. County manager, any comments?
I don't have anything additional, just want to thank everyone for coming out.
Okay. Board member comments. We'll start to my left. Ms. Broadnax-Taylor.
Like to thank everybody for coming out. Just want to let everybody know that this week is National Library Week. And just want everybody to know that we got one of the best libraries in Northampton County you would want to find anywhere. They do a fabulous job. Miss Lily Purnell and her staff do a fabulous job here in Jackson, North Carolina. Also, just want you to know, I don't know how many of you all knew her, but Miss Sally Surface, who used to be the executive director of CADA, passed. And her funeral will be on Saturday at Shawan University at 2:00. Just wanted to give kudos to everybody that helped in that move over to that administrative building. I came up on several occasions, and Miss Mason, she was working it out. She had packages stacked in the window, just making it happen. So they did a fabulous job making it happen for us in Northampton County. And as I say, that this is the building for our citizens. Doesn't matter whose name is on the building. This is the citizens building. So again, thank you all for making it happen, and you all made it happen for us. So again, thank you.
Just like to say good evening to everybody and echoing some of the similar sentiments as Commissioner Rodnax tell them, commending everybody on a successful move, because I know when you're trying to transition from one building to another, it can be, very, very, very tasking. So kudos to you all for that. I also want to give a huge shout out to all of our department heads. Sometimes I don't get a chance to connect with you all before you leave, but thank you for what you do in your departments and the leadership that you share. I also want to thank Mr. Phil Matthews, Dr. Atkinson, and Chair Martin. I was unable to be at the groundbreaking ceremony for the new centralized high school because I was serving on the dissertation committee in Western Carolina University. And I want to thank you and your team, Mr. Matthews, for allowing me to come out the day before and able to do some celebratory things. So thank you all for putting that together, because again, if I'm not able to physically be at a place, I definitely like to show my sincerity and my spirits to anything that you guys are doing. So thank you so much. Just want to thank all of the farmers that came out, and I also have a colleague and a friend, Mr. Tim Hallowell, I see it here as well. And so thank you for sharing those concerns. Ms. Benson, also Judge Kwashipi, for just giving us that knowledge about the solar panels and things of that sort, because it is important. We want to make sure that we make wise decisions and decisions that's going to be contributing to healthy living for our community. I've spoken on it before. My mom and I, we had some deforestation going on next door to our home house, and it is not a good feeling when things happen near your property, in your home where you live at, and then you have to deal with the consequences of that. So we certainly want to go into situations with our eyes open and knowing that we want to do what's in the best interest of our community and looking at the pros and cons of anything that we're doing. Also want to give a huge shout out to the leadership team here for a nice ceremony that we had here on last Tuesday as we were celebrating all of our staff and they're opening up the new building. So just thank you all for what you did to make that successful as well. But again, just want to echo my sentiments of we want Northampton County, especially our county government, to be a place where our employees can thrive and feel successful. And we definitely have an open door policy. So at any time, if you need to talk to anyone, commissioners, I can speak for myself, I have an open ear. If I can't answer your question, I'm certainly going to go to the channel that can answer your question. But just know that I am an open ear and a fair person. And so again, we want our county government to be an employer that encourages our employees to thrive, to feel safe, to feel valued. And so those are just the things that I just want to make sure that I share as a sentiment. And also to our citizens, thank you for allowing your voices to be heard, because again, without you, there is no us. And I also want to acknowledge my tardiness on tonight. So as you all know, spring cleaning happens. So Saturday I got stung in the hand by a wasp. And then yesterday I was in with an allergic reaction. So I want to thank my mom for her support and helping me to get here and navigate this afternoon. So that's a little bit of the reason why I was late, because I'm still dealing with my allergic reaction now. But again, this is what we're committed to. So again, thank you for all that you all do. That's it for me.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's really good to see a whole crowd here. It makes me think that we all care about Northampton. And I appreciate the comments you make. It makes a difference. So always remember that we support Northampton. I do, and I always will. Thanks.
Vice Chairman Edwards.
I yield. Thank everybody for coming out. Okay. Because of the echo. Thank you.
All right. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out also, and we have had a busy last couple of weeks with the groundbreaking of the school. We had a retirement of a department head, and the new building ribbon cutting, so it's been a very busy week, and I appreciate all of the staffs who made that happen. Makes it a whole lot easier for me. I just have to show up, say a few words. But thank everybody for all the hard work you do, and thank you to the citizens for coming out, and we are listening to your concerns. And as an engineer, I do have a little bit of knowledge of some of this solar stuff, so you do have somebody with some background in that. So we will do our best to try to get some new rules on our zoning for the solar farms. But thank you again for coming out tonight. And now, do we have a motion to go into executive session? Could you read that for all three of these reasons?
GS 143-318.11, A6 personnel, GS 143-318.11, A3 attorney-client privilege matters, GS 143-318 -11, A4.
Economic development.
Economic development.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
I, Broadnax Taylor.
Aye. Okay, we will now go into closed session. Thank y'all for coming.